Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time to spend with us. I'm Eoin Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Banner Press. This week I am joined by Casper Wehrhahn, news reporter with the Banner Press as well. Casper, good to have you in this week.
Always good to be here and excited to share the stories, of which we certainly have a big one this week to do with education.
That's right, but before we get there, you're also part of an official debut, as it were. As you've likely seen if you continue to watch the Story Behind the Stories on a consistent basis, there's been some renovations going on right here at NAC TV. And as you can see, that work is finally done. New carpeting looks great. We haven't muddied it up just yet. The paint on the walls it's been replastered, it's been redone. The curtains have been hung up again. They're looking sharp. I think they've been dry cleaned as well. They're really looking very crisp right now. If you got an HD right now, it's looking amazing. So it's wonderful to see these types of improvements happening at your local community television station, and hope to continue to see them for many years to come. All right, let's get back into the pages of the paper. One very big story, a significant story of note that everybody is talking about, and not just here in Neepawa, is the education reform that is going to be occurring in the province of Manitoba. It was announced earlier this week by Education Minister Cliff Cullen that there will be a complete and utter revamp of the system. If you're familiar and grew up with school divisions, those are essentially going to be eliminated. The amount of school divisions we have is going to be eliminated and decreased. It's going to turn into 15 separate regions that are all going to be answering towards something that's known as the Provincial Education Authority. I've been calling it the authority for short because it just sounds so much more ominous that way. But that's the way they've decided. It's the best way to go about it. For us directly, Beautiful Plains School Division is the one we're most familiar with. We also have Pine Creek in our area, Turtle River, Rolling River. But in terms of Neepawa directly, Beautiful Plains School Division will be amalgamating with Rolling River School Division and with Park West School Division, become one giant region, one of the 15 regions I previously talked about. It is a dramatic shift in education, and they say it's going to save upwards of $40 million, which they insinuate will be going into the classroom. That's to be seen, but it's very interesting. Casper, what is your take on this change to the system?
Well, as we were sort of talking about it as we were hearing it, I very much had the same feeling that everyone else in the office was feeling. That was like, we don't know why they chose this route or how exactly it's going to work. Feels like a very odd choice, I guess you could say. And yeah, again, theoretically, it is supposed to cut those costs and funnel that money towards the students in some way, shape, or form. And hopefully that is correct. Hopefully they are doing a good move here. But as Kira's story outlines, amalgamation isn't always a good way to try and do this, because the last amalgamation actually did end up costing the money, which was about $27,000. No, I got that a little bit wrong there. 27 million. Sorry.
That's much worse.
Million. If it was 27,000, oh man, we're coasting, but. No, quite pricey there.
Man, that was quite the price hike. Man, I don't think I like that.
Every few times you go numbers, you miss a few digits in there. Yeah. But no, I really hope it does work. But as the couple stories here pointed out, it's not always the best option, and there's a few things that perhaps haven't been considered, like child poverty and whatnot. So that could make it harder for kids to afford the stuff that they need, or depending on how the school is currently being run, like if you have to pay for extracurricular classes or however you call them these days. So I don't know. I have to hope that it goes well, but there's a few factors that need to be addressed that just throwing money at it won't necessarily fix, but I hope they make the necessary adjustments and it works out well.
That's right. Casper, you make a valid point there when you bring up the concept and the reality of child poverty. It is something that the Manitoba Teacher Society did very much spotlight in their response to the provincial government's announcement there. They do have concerns about that. They also have concerns about the fact that principals and vice principals now will not be part of the same union, as it were, and same substructure as teachers. It gives a separation there, which I'm not sure if that's going to work in the best interests of everyone involved. Now, they are, as we said, shifting from 37 school divisions down to 15. They say that most of the significant decisions will now be made out of the offices in Winnipeg for the authority. And they say that $40 million will ultimately be funneled into the classrooms where it definitely belongs. I've been saying for quite some time, and I know a lot of people felt the same way, is that there needed to be an alteration of the system. The system, as we have right now, felt like it was a little too top-heavy. And that's the talking point the government has really hammered home, is the fact that there's so many superintendents, there are so many trustees, there are so many people at the top there. They're getting paid good money. They're not getting paid media money like I get paid. They get paid real money. So that type of savings is something that they wanted to be able to pass on to the student. And who couldn't agree with that? I agree with that 100%. But as Casper said, and I agree, I'm not sure if this setup is the right way to do it. I certainly hope that we're proven wrong on this, that this is a sweeping success. Sometimes the media, Casper, we get painted in that certain light of we want bad things to happen sometimes because, it's an old phrase, controversy creates cash. And controversy as well creates clicks on newspaper websites, people buying newspapers, people listening to the radio and all that. But that's not, we want good things to happen. I do.
I agree.
Yeah.
As much as, kind of true that tragedy does get a lot of traction. I mean, we've seen it with some of our front pages. We've had tragic stuff happen, unfortunately, and, the papers have gone really quick. But at least speaking for myself in the office, I'm tired of seeing bad stuff happen. I want to see the good stuff happen. I want to have something really awesome on our front page that, this person got, $1 million and, they're living a great life all of a sudden. Or a puppy.
Or puppies. Puppies would be amazing. Who doesn't like puppies? But yeah, you're right. We want this to succeed, but we're a little unsure. Mm-hmm. And apparently, so is the co-owner and operator of the Banner Press, Ken Waddell. In his latest editorial, he focuses on some of the changes that are coming. Now, he is a little wary of it, but at the same time, he is very much for it. He believes that change had to happen. He felt that the structure and the system, the way it was, simply was not working. I don't know enough about it. It's been so long since I've been in school. I'm not in the inner circle, as it were, so I don't know for sure. But he says the structure of education in school divisions right now is not a successful model, and it needed alteration. So hopefully this is the type of alteration that's going to make things better. But let me throw it to you, Casper. Is there any takeaway you had from Ken's column this week?
Well, I mean, really all very general because, a lot of this is not necessarily over my head, but it's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily know a whole lot about in terms of the structure of the school system there. But there's definitely a lot of things to consider when it comes to this. And I know we usually don't point them out, but we have once or twice in the past, but we got a good letter to the editor on this topic as well from Ron Nordstrom that actually brings up a lot of good points, a lot of things that I kind of thought about while we were listening to the announcement there, and I think a lot of readers will sort of agree with it as well. Not necessarily agree, but like it'll be a lot of the points that they also thought about. You know, it's again, there's a whole lot of things to consider here, like what could be affecting the students' grades. Is there enough resources at the school? Again, schooling can always use more funding because, you know, lots of students in the schools, it goes up depending on how our population changes over the years. But as well, are there enough, like, for example, mental health resources in the school for kids who need it? Is there enough educational assistance for people who need it? Is there... What was the other one I was thinking of? Nope, I've lost it. But those are just a couple examples there, and you can read all those in Ron Nordstrom's letter as well.
That's right, Ron. We appreciate you sending the letter in, and we would love it if you have an opinion on this or on anything, quite honestly. We would love to hear from you. So go ahead and send your letters to us. If it's on education, that is fantastic. If it's about the provincial vaccine rollout, that's another big topic everybody talks about right now. We would love to hear about that too. We want to be interactive with you, with our community on this. We don't want to just be the talking heads here, and we just don't want to be the ones sharing our opinions on the pages. Your opinion is just as valid as ours. So we'd appreciate it. And I'm sure this education restructuring is something we're all going to be paying close attention to and talking about for many weeks, months, and most likely years ahead. All right, let's shift over our attention now to a different topic. So, Miles for Mental Health. It's a topic we've talked about many a year, trying to help get the message out there. They've had to make some obvious operational sort of shifts over the last year, but they're still trying to make things happen and make things work. And Casper, you had a chance to catch up with them on that, didn't you?
Absolutely, and I admit this is kind of a topic that has slipped my mind a bit just with everything going on. So it was nice to hear from them via email before I did the interview with Dan Martin there. But Miles for Mental Health, although COVID has provided some obstacles, they are still remaining quite busy, and they're determined to keep supporting people who need it and to raise awareness of mental health issues. Their recent efforts have been in the form of what they call manual health care kits, which is to help individuals who have been most impacted by COVID-19 related isolation. And they've done a number of batches here. I think it's like 3 batches. But the first one was 50 bags made, packed, and distributed primarily to seniors at Kinsman Court, Yellowhead Manor, Elks Manor, and Aspenley. And they included like decks of cards, a printout of different games that they can play by themselves since we can't really gather. You know, individual tea bags, chocolate, stress balls, all sorts of different things there to sort of give them something to do, keeps them active, resources if they need it. It's really good to see them being able to do this, considering that their primary event is their fun run, which obviously they weren't able to do last year, and they're potentially not going to be able to do this year, depending how things play out. And apparently it went over really well. So they did another 50 bags, and they partnered with community mental health proctors to get those out. And now they are working on doing some more family-oriented ones, and they're going to get those out in a similar fashion, partnering with Salvation Army and whatnot. And yeah, I'm really pleased to hear that they're doing this. They're going to have some courses available as well that definitely take a look at.
That is fantastic. With everything we've gone through over the last year, and especially our senior community has had to deal with over the last year, it's wonderful to hear about these types of outreaches that are looking at bridging that gap until whatever version of normal we end up with, we can get back to. And I'm optimistic we'll get back to it. We got a story we'll be talking about a little bit later, but we'll get to that shortly. That sort of melds those two together. You were also out and about, Casper. You at a ribbon cutting event that recently happened, a new business. Well, sort of a new business. They've been here for a while, but now they're much like the NAC TV studio, fresh coat of paint on the walls and everything spruced up. Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So if you're perhaps familiar with the story, or even if you're not, Christensen TDS is now officially open in Neepawa. They are a law firm that came here late last year. I think it was around November or October. I know Ken's done a story on it previously. And they were in operation in the community, but they were working around renovations. The space was originally the home of, I believe, Yellowhead Physio. Mm-hmm. Yep, Yellowhead Physio at 225B Ellen Street. So it wasn't quite office material at that time. It was more of a physio space. But it's gone through a lot of work, and it's actually looking really good right now. I had the pleasure of going around and looking in there at the ribbon cutting, and it's very fresh. It feels very comfortable. There's a couple pictures there on page 11. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough space to provide a comparison of sorts between the old and the new, but if you've been there, or even if you had the chance to see the before pictures, it's definitely quite different. It's looking very good, so good on them for that, and I'm glad that they're able to make their home here in the community. They've sort of been on operation for like over 50 years, and they've been slowly trying to expand.
Yep. No, that is wonderful to see them moving into the community, settling in, and having this brand new and improved space that they're going to be able to work out of. So great on that. Both those stories, Miles for Mental Health and the grand opening, you can see on pages 10 and 11 respectively in this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press. Now, if you turn the page just one over, you're going to see something really kind of interesting, I think. It's something we all sort of popped and just sort of got excited over. We originally had this on Travel and Entertainment because it's a travel and entertainment type story, but we decided to shift it over to color because black and white page wouldn't have done it justice. This is why you have to pick up a hard copy of the Banner Press to be able to see a larger version of it. You can see a small version of this right now, some very colorful pictures from a new book. And Christine Waddell was able to do some research and some discussion about this new book known as Bobbit and No More COVID. So it's a children's take, sort of explaining the concept of what we've been dealing with COVID-19, explaining it to children. And Christine, I thought, did a tremendous job. The author, and I apologize if I mispronounce the name, Jessica J. Wolgemuth, based out of the Burnie area, came up with the concept and worked through and was able to come up with the design and the layout of the book, and it really came out fantastically. Just talking about the bunny sort of living through through a pandemic. I mean, a different perspective on that. Casper, what was your read on that? On this read?
Well, it was very interesting for sure. Certainly a different take on the whole COVID situation, and I haven't had the chance to look through the book myself in its entirety, but absolutely beautiful job on getting this put together by the author and the artist. All the photos that you see in the book and the couple that we show as example on the page here were all done in watercolor paint, so it's very vibrant and, well, pleasing to look at. It's really interesting. I hope that people check it out.
And you are going to be able to. Not only can you get this book if you check in on Amazon. It seems like everybody buys something from Amazon nowadays, but in this case, if you can find it on Amazon, it is available in their books section. You can also locate it they have been actually donated to the public library here in Neepawa, and there are copies apparently available here at the Banner and Press building as of what we speak right now. I don't know, maybe a day or two from now, maybe if you wait, you won't be able to pick up a hard copy of it, but hopefully you'll be able to track it down. Bobbit and No More COVID is the name. So hopefully you'll be able to check it out. Regional individual doing some tremendous work, and always love to shine that spotlight on those people. All right, now talking about COVID, talking about the restrictions, talking about some of the alterations we've had to deal with over the past few weeks and months, there is, to a degree, a bit of a return to normal. We're not there yet, but it's starting to feel like some level of normalcy. And part of that is something I was looking forward to immensely, is the reopening of the local gym. Whitey's Fitness and Body Shop reopened. I love that place. It's the only thing that keeps me sane, because of my coworkers sometimes are just so annoying. All right, not you, Casper.
It's okay. We all know you're talking about
Yeah. But it's great that it's reopened, and some of the classes. Whitey's is well known for some of its training courses, but obviously group get-togethers were not allowed for the longest amount of time. But they are starting to loosen up those restrictions, and there are several programs that are making their return that a lot of people have been looking forward to. I had a chance to speak with Sherry Hawkins about that. She's very excited to be able to get back into the swing of things, as it were. She's hearing a lot from her clientele that they are very much looking forward to it. They've been able to do the best they can at home. They've been doing very well with home courses through Zoom and other types of teleconferences throughout almost half a year, maybe even a full year. But there's no... Sometimes it's better to be able to be with somebody, you know, and just that motivation and just being able to help each other get through and achieve something. And that's what these classes are really all about. And it's great to see that it's back into the fold, as well as some new courses as well. Derek Pearson, whom we have talked about before, ran the boxing club here in Neepawa, has partnered with Whitey's to provide a boxing style program. So that's going to be very interesting. Boxing is so intense. In the 90s, back when I had energy, I actually trained for a couple years in boxing, and it is a tremendous workout. I would do it nowadays, but I'm just too tired, and it's just too hard. So I'll just stick with what I know. But for younger people who have more energy, and for maybe even people my age who are just not lazy like me, it's a great course. It's a great opportunity. And another one as well, Strong Like a Girl, is an evening course for teenage girls. A training regimen for them as well is making its return. So many different avenues, so many different genres of exercise you can get into. I'm really glad that we're able to share some of that story. And that story is on page 9 of this week's paper. To go along with that is an update. AstraZeneca is probably something you've heard a lot about over the last few weeks. It's one of the new vaccines for COVID-19, and a lot of local areas are getting access to it. Neepawa at this point in time is not one of them. There is reason behind that. Kira Patterson wrote a story on that, did an update about some of the reasoning why we in the town of Neepawa can't have that just yet. But it's an interesting thing. We're not through the worst of it yet. We still got to be careful, be mindful of how we go about things. And Kira gives us an update on the timeline there. Casper, is there anything in regards to that story that you want to chime in on?
Well, I guess not really. But it's good to see that these two facilities are prepared for it. If they do get any doses, they've been working pretty hard, it sounds like, to make sure that they are ready just in case they've both got approval. So it's good to see that effort.
That's right. Harris Pharmacy is what we're referring to, and the Beautiful Plains Community Medical Clinic. Their most recent council meeting, we had a slight update on that, and it was added into Kira's story, in that they have a vaccination room ready to go right now at the clinic. No vaccinations at this time. And this is very important. Please keep this in mind. Do not contact the clinic directly. to make any types of appointments. Council was very, very specific on that point. It's something that will be worked through with your doctor, with your medical professional, once they are available. They're not available at the clinic right now, but they're ready when they will be. So don't contact the clinic at this point in time, and even when they are there, don't contact the clinic. This is something you deal with through your medical professional, through your doctor, and we'll get through this. We'll all get through this and find that normal again. I'm very much looking forward to that. So, as I'm sure you are. Well, there's so many other things that we could cover this week. We've only really scratched the surface, haven't we, Casper, on this week's paper?
Oh, absolutely. There is so much more. We have a hydro story on the back page there. Looking back, as usual, there's a lot of different stuff in there. More letters to the editor on Crown Lands, hockey history research, the Rotary Club, so many more. So definitely pick up a hard copy of the paper the second you get a chance.
Oh, one other thing, actually, I'll point out my own error this week. There will be a correction in next week's paper. I made a mistake on the sports. I made a mistake. Surprise, surprise. We have a story about Bryce Crowder, who is committed to a university based out of Rhode Island. He's a member of the Neepawa Junior A hockey team. Congratulations to him on that. Unfortunately, I had another story set aside about Briley Wood, and who's also a member of the team, and I accidentally put Briley's picture in where I should have put Bryce's. So when you see that, that's not Bryce in the picture, so I have a correction in there, and I do apologize for that error. Sometimes I'm only human. So I had a caller call us up and say, oh, by the way, and they weren't rude about it, they were just very polite about it, and that's what we like to hear. When we're wrong, we don't mind getting called out on that, as long as you're polite about it. If you have a difference in opinion to us, we don't mind having that. We want to share that, as long as you're not too mean about it, and that's the thing. We'd love to hear from you, whether we're doing the right thing, whether we're doing what you think is the wrong thing, whether we're telling it like it is or maybe we're not. We love to hear from you. So if you have any suggestions, any thoughts, anything whatsoever, you can call us. Here at the Neepawa Banner Press, 476-3401 is a number that we can be reached at. You can also get to us via email at news@neepawabanner.com. Sports-related stuff, that might start happening again soon. sports@neepawabanner.com. We always appreciate an ad or two. Keeps us rolling along. You can contact us at ads or at creative@neepawabanner.com. We just love to be able to interact with the community and know that we're telling the stories that you want to hear. So, but we're only as good as the community we can serve. So hopefully we can keep that wave of communication going. We love to hear from you, and hopefully you love to hear and read from us. So, but Casper, thank you very much for taking a little bit of time and walking us through several of these stories. Appreciate it.
Once again, good to be here, and I hope that, next time I'm here, we'll have lots more to share.
Yep, and hopefully another coffee end table for you. We've done all this renovation. I think we need one more little item. Ken, if you want to get the checkbook out, So just put you on the spot there. So hopefully we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll see you with you'll see us with 2 coffee tables. But until that time, thank you very much for spending a little bit of your day with us here on the story behind the stories.